Okay, good evening, everyone watching right now. Good morning, good afternoon, depending on wherever and whenever you're watching this. You're welcome to the day three of our program, Start a Tech Career in 2025. This is the day three. And today we'll be talking about programming as well as mobile development. Okay. So if today is the first day you're joining us or the first time you're seeing this, this program is all about what it takes to join or to practice a particular career in tech, how you can choose a particular field in the numerous tech fields that we have in today's world, because the world is going digital and everybody is expected to have at least a little skill in tech. Okay, even if it's just a small skill you will use in any domain that you find yourself, any place of work. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about programming, and we have esteemed guest with us today is a senior mobile developer. It's no other person that Mr. Ayan Kundubechi. Mr. Zubi, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Confirm if you can hear
Okay,
me too.
very, very good. You're welcome to this program. It's an honor to have you here.
Thank you. Yeah. Say good evening to everybody. Yeah, welcome to today's live stream.
Okay, so I know you will be talking mainly about mobile development, but before that, I want to be talking about programming a little about programming. So I will also gladly, hear your own opinion on certain things I'm going to talk about in terms of programming. Okay. So to start with, a lot of people don't does not really know what programming is all about. They don't understand when you talk about programming. One of the things that drives this the passion to always enlighten people in me, because that is one thing about me. I like enlightening people about anything that have to do with tech. And one of the passion that drives me is sometimes when I see people want to come into a certain area of this tech, and they don't really know how to go about it or what to do. Okay. Now, from the first day when we started the program, we talked about the steps you are going to take to build any career of your choice, and how you're going to manage the career and the sale. And we talked about different careers. Now, when we were talking about those steps, one of the things we talked about is actually making research. Okay, actually making research, and everything I want to talk about now in programming now falls into that research. Now, I've encountered people that will come to me and say, okay, sometimes you see some people will say something like, I want to go into web development or web design. Okay, they call it, they say, I want to go into web design, but I don't like coding. Okay, I've seen people like that severally. Now come to me and tell me that. Now, the question now ask them, okay, what do you think you do as a web developer or web designer, as you likely call it? Okay, um, So because of that now, you find out that most people will say, okay, I don't like coding, but I want to do this. Without making proper research, you will not know that, okay, that thing that you intend to do also involve coding. Okay. So that is why I, sorry. Okay. So that is why I'm bringing up this now. Okay. So when we talk about programming in a layman term, programming is the same thing as the coding that we're talking about. So when you say coding, we're talking about programming. Now, what is programming? Now, programming is simply an act of writing instruction for the computer to perform certain tasks. Okay. Now, I like going back to anytime I'm talking about programming. I like going back to the foundation of computer because that is where it starts from. Okay, so sorry if you are just joining us on Facebook. Okay, you can simply uh, okay. So sorry about that, guys. So like I was talking about programming. Now, when we talk about programming, I like talking about it from the very foundation of computer, okay? Because when we're talking about tech, everything tech revolves around the computer. That means using the modern technology to solve problems, okay? Like from the definition of tech in our first day of this event, we said if you're going into tech, now if you can solve a problem, you can use technology to solve a problem, that is when you know that you are into tech. Okay. And when we talk about technology is driven by computers. Okay. So, and if we go down to the foundation of computer, from the definition of computer, we say computer is simply an electronic machine that accepts data as input, now stores those data, process them, and gives out the processed data as information, which is the output of the computer. Now, this is the bare definition of computer. Now, this whole thing that the computer does is controlled by programming. That is, it's controlled by programs, computer programs. Okay, that means without computer programs, the computer cannot even function the way you expect it to function. Okay, so that is to say everything around the computer revolves around programming. Okay, so that is, if you are going into anything tech, it's either you'll be writing programs or you'll be using programs that have been written by some people. Okay, so that is just how it is. You either be using programs that have been written by people or you'll be writing programs. So when we talk about programming now, we say there are some certain aspects of tech that you want to go into, that programming is actually very, very important. That is coding. It's very, very important in some aspects. Why in some aspects, there are already applications that have been designed by programmers that you are going to use to carry out the task, your job description in those aspects. Okay, so that is the major thing I want to point out about programming. So that is to say, programming generally is everywhere in tech. The only difference is that there are some places where you have to write the programs yourself as a tech expert, and there are some places that you need to rely on programs that have been written by other experts to carry out your job role. Okay, so that is just the thing about programming. So you can see that directly or indirectly, it is a very, very critical aspect of tech today. Okay. Now, so give a clearer picture of those particular tech roles, because the motive of this program is to help guide you in starting a tech career. You understand? So we should be able to also give clear directive of what are these fields that require programming, and what are these fields that do not require programming. At least when you are starting any of these careers, you should know that okay, what I'm starting is involving programming or not. You understand? Then also in the first day we talked about checking or assessing yourself to know if you can excel in that field. That means you have to know everything about that particular field before going into it. You understand? So if it's a field you know that it involves programming, you check yourself, okay, can I write programs? Can I be able to code? You understand? If you be able to code, then you are good to go into it. You understand? But if you know that you cannot do coding, you cannot program, then you go into those fields that does not require programming. Okay. Now, one of those fields is technical writing. Okay, technical writing does not require you coding at all. Okay, so what you just need to do, there are tools that you can use for your writing. Okay, like technical writing basically involve creating user manuals, guides, and other write up, either for computer softwares or possibly, if even if we are talking about a product, you can write about a product. You understand? You can write about a company, you can write about a software, you can write about anything at all that that is needed to be written about. You understand? So in technical writing, what they just need from you is your writing skills. If you can write, then there are some tools, there are some softwares that you need to use to write. Okay. Then another thing is when you are doing graphic design and UI UX design. Okay. Now, any of these ones do not require you to also write code. You understand? You don't need to write code while doing anything like UI UX design or you are doing graphic design. Okay. Now, there is a point you do graphics or UI UX rather. There's a point you do UI UX design up to. Now, some people do uh, change from UI UX to front end developers. Okay. Now, UI UX design is one of these fields that even if you want to go into, actually still go into and use it to know some certain things about software and how software, because like from our first day we were talking about UI UX, we talked about research and some other things that we do in the UI UX field that is not just design. You understand? So if you are that a professional UI UX designer and you've done some research, you've done A/B testing and some of all these things that you normally do according to the job role in UI UX, you would have a certain level of experience in how software works, especially front end. You understand? So the only thing you now need to do is okay, since you understand how software works, then you can start writing codes. That is when you now start writing. And in that case now, when you're writing some of those codes, already you know what you're doing based on your level of experience in designing. Okay, so it will also be easier for you to migrate into front end design. That's why most times if you see people that are doing UI UX, most of them are also front end developer. You understand? But even apart from writing codes, there are still some tools that you can use in UI UX. You understand? There are still some tools that you can use in UI UX to develop, especially websites without writing codes. Example of such tools, Webflow is a Webflow rather. You understand? So if you're using Webflow, even with UI UX, you can decide to use other content management systems like WordPress and Joomla and the rest. You understand? So with that, it will be easier for you to at least advance your career from just that UI UX design into something else, okay, even without writing code, okay. So UI UX design is one of those skills that you can do without writing code. The another thing you can do without writing code is digital marketing, okay. In digital marketing, you don't need to write code, it's just to promote products and services, okay. You majorly use social media channels. So when you use social media or email marketing or any form of marketing tool that you want to use, it doesn't require you to write code, okay. Then project management also does not require you to write code because it's just kind of a managerial task that you will be assigned to do. Because the major thing you will do in project management is planning, overseeing the stages of the project, organizing meetings, and uh, uh, delivering the project when necessary and stuff like that. Okay, so those are the things you do in project management. And in project management, since it's just managerial skills, you don't need to, actually write code in there. Okay. Then sales, technical sales is just like digital marketing as well. You don't need code. Network administration, then managing computer networks, you don't also need to write codes. Okay. Now, uh, skills like data analysis, okay? Because recently I had someone that came to me that said that she's interested in data analysis, but she doesn't like coding, okay? Now, the question will now be, okay, in data analysis, things like data analysis, can you write code in them, okay, if you are doing data analysis, okay? Now, data analysis, cyber security, even network administration sometimes. Okay, let me not say network administration. Network administration, let me just separate the whole thing because we have network administration, we have network security. So let's say network administration totally, you won't write code, okay? But something like data analysis or cyber security, those are the two I can really put my fingers on right now, okay? Now, there are aspects of these courses that doesn't need you to write code. That means you don't need programming skills. Okay. For instance, in data analysis, when you're talking about interpreting and analyzing data to inform business decision, that is to say, no, one thing about data analysis is you use data, you study data, and use data to make decision. You can use data to predict, okay, are we growing or we are not growing? If it's something like, okay, let's take for instance, uh, data relating to sales, you can simply use those data to determine, okay, are we making sales? Are we making more profit or not? Because they can give you data that will span across maybe months or years, and you use those data to do some visual element that we call it data visualization. You understand? So with those visual elements that you create, maybe charts or graph, you'll be able to tell if the data if the data or the business rather is actually making improvements or is lagging behind in some aspects. You understand? So something like that now you don't need writing code because what you are just doing is you're analyzing, you're just doing analysis. You understand? In cybersecurity as well, If you are doing something like security policy, you're just looking at what are the policies that will do or will take to make sure to ensure security, or we're looking at risk management and some other things in cybersecurity. Okay, you don't need coding, you don't need programming in those places. But however, there are some aspects, there are some places that you actually need code. Okay, like in the second day of our program, we had a DevOps engineer talk to us here, and also he said something about needing code in DevOps engineering too. Now, there are some things you also do in DevOps engineering that does not need code. Okay, now these are the ones I can wrap my head around. But the major thing now that I'm trying to point out is this: even though there are some careers, or there are some tech fields that you can write codes on, there are some of them that there's a point you do it to that you need that knowledge of coding. There's a point you do it up to that you need that knowledge of coding. You understand? Like for instance, in data analysis also, there are places where you need to use programming languages like Python, R programming, SQL, and these are programming languages. Okay. Now, if you don't know programming in that case and you do data analysis to that point, now you find out that you have problem in that particular course. You understand? Same thing with DevOps engineering, like what our speaker said the other day, that you need knowledge of Python at least a bit, or any other scripting language like Golang, to write some certain automation. You understand? So that is just it. Okay, so in a nutshell, there are some courses that even though at a point or at the beginning of it, you don't need coding, but there's a point you grow to in that tech field, as long as you are looking at improving yourself and become a senior, a senior. Now, these are some of the you are dealing with any form of development at, you need the knowledge of coding. Okay. Then, if you are doing AI, artificial intelligence, also, there is a point, as long as you are developing, if you are not using, because there's a difference between using AI tools and creating AI tools. Especially when we talk of machine learning. Machine learning is a course that most people don't really understand what machine learning is all about now. Machine learning is simply a career that involves you writing some program that can be automated. That is, take for instance now. Let me use an example. The Chat GPT, for instance. Okay. Okay. If I take for instance Chat GPT. Okay, sorry. Zubi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. So, take for instance ChatGPT. Now, something like ChatGPT now, it is a model, it's an AI model that was trained. Okay, it was trained to this particular extent that it is right now. That you can just ask it a question and to give you certain replies. Okay, now these are models. So there are stages in AI that, or there are some roles in AI that involve you writing models, artificial intelligence model that can be trained. That means you train them to become smart. You understand? So if you are dealing with that part of AI, if you're dealing with that part of AI, you need to write code. You understand? But if you are just using AI tool, if you are just using AI tool, maybe using them to, solve some or make your work faster or solve some issues in your workplace, you don't need to write code. You understand? Even these days, as developers, we have different AI tools that will help suggest some logic and some syntax to us just to make the work faster, especially when you have deadlines to meet. You understand? In that case now, I'm simply using an AI tool for my work. There are sometimes content writing and some other tech fields, apart from tech field, even some business areas that they use AI to enhance the how the work, how they work in such domain in order to improve productivity. Okay, so in that case now you don't need writing code, but if you are building models, AI model, you need to write code. Like I said, data science, there are some places that you don't need code, but there are some places you need code, especially when you are creating, when you are writing scripts, okay, that will help you do some data analysis and other tools that will do data analysis too. I also talked about DevOps, that there are some places in DevOps that you don't need, according to our experts the other day, you don't need this, but it's actually very, very in your DevOps career. Okay. Now, cloud computing, also game development, database administration, all these fields, you need the knowledge of programming in working as an expert in those fields. Okay. So that is the whole thing about programming. So in a nutshell, what everything I've just been saying is everything I've been saying is uh, before you go into any tech career, you first of all need to know your strengths. We said that in the first day. Know your strength, assess yourself. Now, in terms of programming, if you are that type that doesn't like programming, don't go into any tech career unknowingly to you if there is programming involved in that tech field or not. Okay? Because if you don't have that strength to program, you should avoid those courses. And I listed some of them right now. Okay, so that is just it in a nutshell. But programming, directly or indirectly, is very, very important when we talk about tech in general. Okay, either you are writing the program or you are using a software or a tool that have been programmed by a developer to work in that your tech field. Okay. So I don't know, Mr. Zubi, if you have anything to add to everything I've been saying, you can simply add to it before we go into your domain. Mr. Zubi, can you hear me? Okay. Okay, while we wait for Mr. Zubi to join, if you are watching from Facebook, kindly join us on YouTube. Okay, and if you're on YouTube, just let us know you are there by simply commenting. Okay, now, and also, if you have a question based on everything I've been saying, and if you have a question based on other things we're yet to say, you can simply prepare the question, because very soon we're going to ask you to ask those questions. Okay, so if you're watching us live from LinkedIn, you can simply comment also, so that we know that you're here. You can comment LinkedIn on the comment section. Okay, if you're watching us live from LinkedIn, and if you're on YouTube, You can comment also. Then, if you're on Facebook, kindly click on the link to join us on YouTube. Okay. So, Mr. Zubi, can you hear me?
Yes, yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. We no longer see your face. So, okay.
Yeah.
So, like I was saying, if you have anything to add to what I've been saying before we go into your domain, please you can simply add.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to, read down my thoughts. Yeah. So I think you've mostly said it all. Um, Programming is just an art. Like I remember those when I used to when I like I'm greatly drawn into text, right? When I was tender, when I was little, I used to love everything about electronics, right? Um, Operating devices. You see, maybe uh, my village people. So they will bring their phone like, I have this issue. Can you help me? Can you help me? Clear this out, all those stuff. Back then, I didn't know what was behind all those things, like what controls all those things, right? I was just thinking it was just something out of the box, right? I would think it in the other way around is that it's like I'm trying to control what God has put in those devices. But I forgot that all these things are things that are being programmed, instructions that are being given to the those devices, right, to work according to kind of list of instructions, right? Do this, and do this. At the end of the day, we get a particular result. So programming is an art of telling the computer, I want you to perform this, like in your real life, right? You have a job, they give you a job, you need to do this, right? I believe me that before you do any job, there are steps, there are rules, or there are instructions that you follow just to get what you want, right? And that's just actually what programming is. You tell the computer, look at what to do, and it will do it. Now, the art of mastering it is really knowing those instructions, and those instructions are the codes, right? What computer understands is just zeros and ones. They don't even know what we are talking about here. Like we are speaking English, right? The computer will just say, "You guys are speaking English. I don't even understand what you guys are saying," right? So it just like knowing those specific instructions, those languages that the computer understands, you tell it to the computer, and the computer will just follow those instructions and give you your expected output, right? That just purely it's that just what programming is, right? So like he mentioned, so many areas where you apply this programming, but I know the ending part he was saying, some people they like tech but they don't like programming. Yeah, actually that is true.
Of course.
Actually that is true, but um I would say that if you are really into tech, right, you should be somebody that is somehow passionate about, instructions, like telling the computer what to do, right? See, you might not know how to use the code, right? But somehow you are indirectly instructing the computer. You might not like touch the code really, but you are using a medium provided by other programmers or developers.
Okay. So sorry about that. Okay. Mr. Zubi just got kicked out now. So if you're joining us, if you're on Facebook, please while we wait for Mr. Zubi to come back. Okay, if you're on Facebook, kindly join us
What
on
happened?
YouTube. Okay, using the
I
link. Okay.
Can you hear
So
me?
Mr. Zubi, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear? Confirm if you can hear me too. Can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. Okay.
Uh,
So
yeah,
sorry
I
about
was
that.
just surprised, like I was just kicked. I didn't know what I didn't even know if it's my network or maybe something technical. Uh,
Yes. Even if his network is something I call Nigeria factor. From the first day, I said something about starting when you are starting a tech career and you want to build up your enterprise. Maybe you don't want to work with an organization. You want to work maybe on your own, build your own company, a tech company for yourself. Because a lot of young people actually have that passion to start up a tech company for themselves after acquiring a level of tech knowledge. You understand? I have a lot of them like that aspiring to be. Okay, why some of them have actually done that. Now, the my advice for them, as long as you are in Nigeria or maybe some of these African countries, you will have these issues. The first thing you will need to look for is power. Okay, you need to make sure you have steady power supply. Then the next thing is you need to have steady internet connection. If you have these two, can you still hear me? Can you still hear me?
yes, can hear.
Okay,
Yeah, I can hear
like
you.
I was, these two things majorly, these are what I call the Nigeria factor. You understand? So if you are ready for those things and you make provision for them, at least that's a very good way place to start from if you're starting your business. So let's go straight into mobile development. So I want you to tell us more about mobile development because the major thing is for someone that is starting a tech career. Okay, now the first thing we talked about now is programming. So I believe you can even start from there. If programming is involved also, we talk about that too. But for someone coming into mobile development as a tech field now, okay, hey,
Can you hear
because
me?
we will not be meeting. Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I think I lost you for like 1 minute. Yeah.
Okay. I think something happened. Still, Nigeria factor though. So, like I was saying, so just give us a brief for someone starting a tech career. Okay, what is the person expecting to meet in the field? Okay, first of all, what is mobile development? What is it all about? And just tell us more.
Yeah. All right. Okay. I heard when you mentioned if the mobile is if programming is still in the mobile ecosystem stuff, right? Yeah. Strictly programming is involved. Um, it's not for the weak. Don't misquote. It's not for the weak, but if you are coming into mobile development, just hands up that you are doing pure coding, right? Um, so yeah, mobile development, it's just simply like developing.
Oh,
Confirm if you can still hear me.
okay. Yes, I can hear you now. Sorry,
All right.
you went up
Okay.
for just a few seconds.
All right. Okay. So
Okay.
mobile development is just a process of creating applications, right, for smartphones, or we call it mobile devices, right? And which could just be like your normal application, or it could be a web app. Somebody might ask me, web app, or what do you mean by by web app, right? Um, Actually, you can write your application, using your web framework or something, right? But you can embed it as a self-hosted, like mobile application that you run on your smart devices, right?
Okay.
So they are all mobile development. So it all depends on where you are writing it from, right? So because mobile development can span into different things, right? So when it comes to mobile development, you are just creating applications for smartphones or mobile devices. So irrespective of the language you're writing it with, right? If you're saying, okay, I'm writing it natively, or I'm using cross-platform friendship. I don't know. You guys are losing me like in one minute. Sorry about that. That's a Nigerian factor. Maybe we might be
Yes,
using
of course.
that word a lot in this life. So mobile Nigerian factor, but yeah, it's fine. So that's just all what about mobile development is. Just out of creating mobile applications, right, for mobile devices. So irrespective of the language you're writing from, and yeah, all of that.
Okay. So if you're just joining us on Facebook, kindly use the link I provided there on Facebook to switch to YouTube, because if you're on Facebook, you will not be able to listen to our guest. Okay. So come to YouTube with the link I provided there on Facebook so that you will be able to participate. Then if you have any question regarding to what we've discussed so far, even right from the first day we started up to this very moment, or if you have any question based on what we are discussing now, kindly type them on the comment section. Okay, type the question on the comment section. Okay, so the next thing we want to know is, okay, now you clarify that when we talk about mobile, just as the name implies, developing for mobile devices. Okay, so we would like to know what are the languages and coming into the field. Can you hear me?
Yes, yeah,
So
yeah,
for
I can
someone
hear.
coming into that particular field, okay, now what are the languages or what are the things that the person is expected to learn, okay, to become an expert in?
Oh, Nigerian factor. Shit. Can you hear me?
You can
Yeah, I can hear you. I think
the
the ask.
question.
Yeah, you asked for someone coming into mobile development, what are the languages?
Yes, what are the languages, or if there are tools that can be used to fasten the process of learning, that fast track the process of learning, because most developer or most people now these days, truth being told, we are just looking for the easiest way to go into that particular field and make something out for themselves. So if there's anything like that, you still let us know. Okay, what are the things that we need to know? What are the things we need to learn?
Okay. Yeah. So you know, the world has developed. Has advanced so much, right? In the sense that like how you learn mobile development, maybe in the last 10 years, um, like there has been a lot of improvements or advancements on how you do it, follow it up today, right? And um, yes, there are many languages. There are many frameworks that you can, use for mobile development. Mobile development is a kind of way that it's easier for someone, even irrespective if you are coming from the web, right? Let's say you are an existing web developer. It is still easy for you to transition into mobile development if you are a backend or something. And but if you are totally a new beginner, right? Firstly, you must know this, right? One, if others are counting from accounting numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, you should be able to count from zero, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So, what do I mean? You must need know how to code, right? You must
Okay.
know how to program. So that's one, right? Two, you must have the passion. Like I mentioned sometime when at the beginning, like it's not for the
Yes.
weak. So it's something that requires consistency, right? When you meet,
Proceed. We can hear you now.
all right, okay. So yeah, so that's how it is, right? Have the passion and consistency. So without these two, um, I'm not sure that you it's gonna be easier for it's gonna be easy for you. So just have these two things at the back of your mind, right? So for the languages, right? So there are many languages now. Um, we have Java, we have Kotlin, we have Dart, we have React, right? JavaScript, but just React native, right? There are many languages, there are tons of languages that you can use for mobile development. But as a new beginner, right, we normally group mobile development majorly into two categories, right? We have native mobile development, and we have hybrid, or you can call it cross-platform mobile development. So I'll just go into details for each of these, right? For native, right? When you hear native, it's just something that is kind of host or the chief, right, of that particular platform, right? So when we talk about native, you're talking about like specifically, for example, Android, or
Correct.
specifically iOS.
Yeah.
Exactly, exactly.
Okay.
So you can say I want to do mobile development, but specifically for Android.
For
I
Android, that means
mobile
you are
development
doing Android or native iOS.
iOS, exactly.
Okay.
So
Then the hybrid now be between both. Maybe
yes,
you are doing
so hybrid is,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. So hybrid will just be like a bridge, like you are standing at one place, putting your leg in Jamaica and putting your leg in Nigeria, right? So you are just trying to carry the whole world on your head. Yeah, but it makes you powerful, right? So whichever path you choose is it's very fine. For me, anything I'll be saying here, I will also chipping in my own experience. So maybe you can learn something from there, right?
Yes, it's very
So
necessary.
yeah. So for me, I started native, right? In fact, when I started native, um, cross-platform was a thing though, but it was not that popular, right? It was not that popular. So when I joined like native. And what native? Android. Nigeria, one of the Nigerian factor, right? Like 95% of us have Android devices. We don't have
Android,
iOS.
yes. No, not now though, because these days
Yes,
a lot of
yes,
people
not exactly. So yeah, but if you talk about like then, that you know that
of
mostly
course.
statistically, like Android is more. more in number, right? So that forced me to, go into native, and native Android. So another factor that might change your destiny would be the resources, right? Then
Of
I, I
course.
I only had Windows laptop, and what's one thing you will know is that you cannot use Windows for iOS development,
For
right?
building
You want
iOS applications.
iOS, exactly. So if you want to
So
be
you
an
need a
iOS, yes, if you want to be an iOS native developer, that means you have a MacBook, right? And Android, you for if luckily you have a MacBook, then you are good to go. You can do both Android and Android native or iOS depending, right? Yeah. So we have native and we have cross-platform. So when we talk about native, we talk about Android and iOS majorly, right? Now, when you come to hybrid or cross-platform, so we talk about things. We talk about frameworks that join these both Android and iOS together, right? Because if you are starting a new tech company or maybe a new business and you need a mobile app, right? um what it means if we don't have cross-platform or hybrid mobile development, what it means is that you will hire developers, right, to write the native on Android for you, and you also hire developers to write the native on iOS for you. So if it's something that requires 100,000 to set up, it's going to require you 200,000. Do you see? So that's and it comes with a lot of headaches, right? Maintainability, right? You have to
yeah.
imagine you have a bug here that exists between those two. That means it has to be resolved. It has to be resolved here, right? So if you are building a feature on the iOS, you have to also build that same feature on Android. So you see all these challenges, because the more this comes up, the more you spend and the more you stress your developers. Everybody likes soft life. For me, I like soft life too,
Of
right?
course.
So nobody likes stress. Nobody likes stress. So that's where the hybrid or cross-platform comes in, right? So you'll be able to do both, but with one single code base. So it means that you just write one code, it works on both platforms, on both native and on both Android and iOS. So if you have a feature, if you want to build a feature, you build a feature once and it works on both, right? So that's it. So that's one thing to consider when you are going to mobile development. So you choose native or cross-platform. Now for cross-platform, sorry, for native Android, we have languages like Java and Kotlin, right? Java and Kotlin. So these are majorly two languages that you can use for developing mobile apps for Android, right?
Okay.
So yeah, so we have Java and Kotlin. Now, initially, Java was the official language for developing Android applications, but currently, it has been replaced with Kotlin, right? It doesn't mean that you can't develop with Java. You can still develop, they still support Java, but it's just that Kotlin is the official language right now. And so, one thing I would chip in also here is even if you are doing this with Kotlin, there is hope. So there is we have KMM right now, what they call Kotlin multi-platform, and what it means is that you can
Sorry,
still
sorry, we didn't get, sorry. You said K what?
KMM, Kotlin multi-platform,
Okay,
KMM,
okay, okay.
Kotlin multi-platform. Yeah. So if you are doing native Android, it means that this gives you hope that you can also develop for iOS. Currently, you can,
Okay.
right? You can develop for Android and you can also develop for iOS, right?
Using
Even now,
just code.
yes, using just Kotlin. So if you already know
Okay.
Kotlin, um, I will not tell you to quickly rush into using other frameworks, maybe like Flutter or React Native or so, right? Because the Android community has something for you. So the Kotlin multi-platform. So it's just that what you understand is that the modern day app development has revolutionized, like in the sense that I wouldn't say they are copying each other, but they are trying to um, bring up. For example, if you are using Flutter, there are some syntactic sugar that you will love using Flutter that makes people attracted to Flutter so much. Those things can also be done in the Android community. Introduce those same pattern into Android development so that they will still have to return people that are using
That are
Kotlin. So now,
Kotlin.
yeah. So there is this pattern we use to write code we call declarative imperative programming, right? Where you just write your instructions just one by one or something, right? And declarative now is just that it's just like on the go, right? Declarative programming is just like a modern day programming now, right? That it's just like saying functional programming or something, right? So this style is what is persistent in Flutter, right? But now Android has also taken that into action by introducing Compose, right? Jetpack Compose. So Jetpack Compose is using the same pattern that Flutter is using. That's declarative programming, right? So it will make you now to love that way. You love people doing it on Flutter. You also
Okay.
enjoy it doing it, right? So things now are very modern that wherever you are, you will still enjoy programming. You will still use it to solve problems. What you have to have at the back of your mind is that all these things, no matter where you're coming from, you are just using it to solve a problem, right?
Yes.
Just
Okay.
use it to solve a problem. So for iOS, we have Objective C and we have Swift, right? These are two major languages that you can use to, develop mobile apps for iOS, right? So Objective C is just like Java, like when you started Android, right? So Objective C is the OG. Is the OG for iOS,
So,
then Java is the OG for Android, right? So Swift is kind of the modern language for developing
okay,
iOS,
native
right?
iOS, just like
Exactly,
Kotlin, Android.
exactly. Now, if you remember what I was saying in Android, I was saying that Android introduced this Jetpack Compose that uses the same pattern, a declarative pattern as Flutter. Now on iOS, it's same. They have something they
Please,
call Swift.
joining us
Right?
on Facebook, kindly use the link to switch to YouTube. Because if you're on Facebook, you cannot hear our guest speaker. So join us on YouTube so that you'll be able to follow and listen to our guest speaker. Okay? So please continue. Sorry for cutting you.
All right. Yeah, so I was saying I mentioned something when I was talking about languages we use for
Uh,
native Android, right?
native,
So
yes.
where where they introduced this Jetpack Compose that uses declarative pattern of programming just like Flutter, right? Now that same case in iOS. So that's why I'm saying that all these people they know what they are doing. Everybody's trying to return developers that are using their framework, right? So
Yeah.
in iOS we have something we call Swift UI. Swift UI, right? So Swift UI uses declarative pattern just like Flutter to develop your mobile applications. You understand? So you see that all these kind of things they are similar, but you just where you are coming from, or where you choose, or where you say this is where my destiny is going, right? So in all this, like I said, we all resolve at like you know giving solutions to problems and yeah.
Uh,
Now, so yeah. So for cross-platform, that is hybrid. So we have languages. We have that. That is a programming language. Then Flutter is a framework around that. So when somebody asks you, the programming what's the programming language for developing maybe cross-platform, you now say Flutter. You are correct. You are correct, but technically you are not correct. So
Okay,
yes, Flutter
because
is
that
just
is
a framework.
the language.
Yes, Flutter is a
Okay,
framework, but that
it's
is
programming
the
language.
yes, that is just the programming language. So Flutter is just like a wrapper around the programming language, just to make things easier for you, writing libraries and packages that you use out of the box to make things easier for you. That's just things about something about framework. It's just something that it's just like framework is just like a skeleton, right? It's just like a skeleton forming the base and giving you the tools and everything that you need just to, process, write your code. So we also have React Native. So, but what is this is JavaScript, right? So
Okay,
Native
if
is
you are, you can join us on YouTube using that link I provided there. Okay, if you're on Facebook, because you cannot hear our guest speaker if you're on Facebook. Okay, so and if you have any question, you can simply type it in the comment section. Okay, so there's one question here, but our speaker have to finish what he's saying before I attend to this question. So, because it is sorry, continue.
okay.
Can you see me?
Yeah. So yeah, I can hear you. So another language is JavaScript, but the that's React Native, right? So React Native is just a wrapper around JavaScript to enable you write mobile app development. So one thing you have to pick out is that even if you are coming from the web, I know if you are coming from the web, you don't write JavaScript. You are not a web developer. so
Yes.
so if you are programmed using JavaScript, that means it will be easier for you to join mobile development using React Native. So you can use React Native also for mobile development. So we also have other frameworks. We have Ionic, we have Cordova and the likes. But the most popular, right? The top ones are like Flutter and React Native. So these are like
Flutter
topping the
and
chart.
React Native. Yeah.
Yeah. So for the tools, it depends on if you are doing native or you're doing cross-platform. So for
Okay.
native, you
So if
can
you're just
use
joining us on Facebook, kindly use the link I provided. Hello,
yeah. Can you hear me? Am I audible?
hello, Mr. Zubik. Yes, you're audible. I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. Okay.
Uh,
Sorry, you can
yeah.
continue. You were breaking.
Oh, all right. So I was talking about the tools we can use.
Yeah.
So on the native side, native Android, so you can use Android Studio, right? So Android Studio is just the recommended IDE for developing native Android applications, right? There might be other ones. Maybe if you okay, maybe I will come to that later. For iOS, we have Xcode. So Xcode is an IDE on the Apple side if you are developing for iOS. So Xcode is a must. Yeah, so those are the two most popular. So there are other tools that you can use, but these are just the recommended. um, yeah. But for cross-platform development, you can still use Android Studio, right? For both.
Okay.
For both, you can use VS Code. You can use Visual Studio
Okay.
Code for yeah, for those now. But when you are targeting iOS also, when you are doing cross-platform, you must also have Xcode, because Xcode is just like it's just like your license. It's just like the controller for whatever thing you are writing on iOS. Xcode is the backbone that actually sets things up, like configurations for your iOS app and all of those. So if you want to set something on, let's say you want to add camera permission, or maybe edit some settings, or some kind of configurations that you have to do, you will have to do it from Xcode, right? You have to do it for Xcode. Yeah, but for Android, you can just do all those things straight from Android Studio, right? But when you are targeting on iOS, right, there are some things you have to do it outside the Android Studio. You have to actually go into the Xcode, open the Xcode application to
Okay.
do all those stuff. Yeah, so those are the tools.
Okay. So in a nutshell, what you said so far, for someone coming into mobile development, the first thing is you must know how to code. That means if you don't know how to code, you won't go far in it. So you should first of all start learning programming. Okay. Then the second thing, in summary, is that irrespective of the language you're using, okay, you can actually achieve what you want to achieve. But there are some of them that are more recommended, especially if you're building a hybrid system. Okay, there are some of them that are more recommended. You mentioned in terms of native Android, you mentioned Java, Kotlin. Okay, and you said Kotlin is the modern way, Java is the OG. Okay, then in terms of iOS, you mentioned Swift and Objective C, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I said Objective C is the OG, that's the old language. Not really old because there you can still use it, but the modern way of doing native is the Swift programming language. Then we are talking about cross-platform. It is more recommended you use React Native or Flutter, which belongs to JavaScript and Dart programming language, respectively. You understand? So, as a beginner, someone that is coming into mobile development, these are the things you need to know. Okay. Now, that is just a summary of everything you said so far, right? Now, coming to questions now, there's a question here for you by Joseph. Joseph simply asked, is it advisable to use Chat GPT to enhance your mobile development? Mr. Zubi, can you still hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Yeah.
Okay. So did you get the question? Mr. Joseph is asking, is it
Okay.
advisable use Chat GPT to enhance your mobile development? Okay.
Yeah, that's a good question. I will say, when I started, ChatGPT was not out yet, but if it were out, then I would have used it too. Yeah,
Okay.
so yeah, it's very good, yeah, to use ChatGPT to enhance mobile development, but it depends on how you use it, right? Um, as someone that is learning, your purpose for using ChatGPT is to ask questions like, it's just like to get a guide, but not to write the code for you. So if your purpose is for ChatGPT to write the code for you, then you are not doing it right, right? But if it is for asking you guidance, right, on how to achieve something, or how to solve a particular problem, right, it can actually write code for you, right? But it's not like like writing the whole thing for you. You just sit down there, like copy and paste, and it runs and you are good to go. You are not learning. In fact, it is taking away from you what you already have. So if you use ChatGPT more than how you need to use it, it will harm you, in the sense that you might not really need to. Because if you ask ChatGPT to write a kind of a block of code for you, and you don't actually read that code, actually know what that code is doing, right? You just copy and paste. So far it works. You don't really understand how it works. Then believe me, you will still not know it. That means you will become a customer to ChatGPT every time you will still be asking ChatGPT the same question. If it is a real human being, if it's a real human being that you are asking, if it is me that you're asking, you ask me a kind of to write a portion of code for. I wrote it for you and gave you. You went and used it. You still come back tomorrow. You still come back tomorrow to ask me the same question for the same block of code. About that, no, no, just you just reason it. If it's P square, they will say reason with me, my brother. So you actually you actually need to know what you copied, right? Ask ChatGPT. ChatGPT can actually explain the code for you, right? Try to learn from it, and when you apply it, what I normally advise people is, before you ask ChatGPT, just try first.
Okay.
Just try just try your own. When ChatGPT should be like your last resort. Like, okay, I've not been I've tried my best, I couldn't get it. Then ChatGPT, can you help me do this, right? Then once ChatGPT provides it for you, then you read it, learn from it. So generally it's good to use ChatGPT to enhance mobile development, but don't misuse it, because it might even take away the knowledge that you already have. So yeah, is good, but use it carefully.
For me, generally, in terms of development, generally, I won't even advise a beginner trying to learn to use, especially if you are if you have that mindset of learning, except you don't want to learn. You understand? Now, where AI tools should be used is when you're already working and you are looking at timeline. You understand? You want to achieve and deliver maybe a certain project or product or feature of whatever you are working on time. Then you're already an expert. You know what you're doing. You understand? Even in those cases, it's not everything that the AI to give to you that you are going to use, because sometimes in terms of logic, the logic you tend to apply might be different from what the AI tool suggests. You understand? So the major thing is when the AI tool suggests, you can use that suggestion to redefine your logic and make use of it. So to me, I believe using AI should be more on when you are targeting deliverables. You understand? When you say, okay, you have a deadline to meet. But for a person that is learning, it will be like the situation of give me fish, don't show me how to fish. You understand? Because ChatGPT will always give you what you need. And with that, now you're not going to learn anything. So, okay, that's my own take in using ChatGPT, not just mobile development, any form of development that you are doing. Making use of AI to as a learner, you are not helping yourself. Okay. So that just if you have more questions, you can simply type them on the comment section before we wrap up. Now, Mr. Joseph asked another question here. He said, which is the best approach to go into Swift development? That means if you want to go into mobile development fast, what's the best approach that you can advise someone? Okay.
Okay. All right. So when you are going to Swift development,
Can you still hear me?
yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me also?
Mr. Joseph, hope you can get the responses to your questions. You can simply indicate on the comment section. Then if any other person have questions, you can simply ask on the comment section. If you're on Facebook, you can join us on YouTube to participate. Okay, so we are in the question and answer section now. So if you have any question, even if it's from the first day we started, right from the first day to this very minute, all the things we've discussed about, if you have any question on those things, you can simply ask. Okay. So sorry, Mr. Zulu, can go ahead with this question. Which is the best approach to go into the faster? If you want to
Okay.
go into mobile development, what's the best way, the fastest way?
Okay. So I would just say, okay, maybe you want to go into maybe native iOS, right? So, and you decide to choose Swift as a programming language, right? Um, Now, one
No,
thing
no.
with programming,
Sorry, sorry. Can you
yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, I think what he meant is not really using Swift programming. Like, I
Okay,
don't
he
know if
just
Mr.
by Swift, they were using Swift program, just Swift programming language.
Many, I believe what he meant is, yes, I believe what he meant is if you want to go into mobile development fast, maybe go into it and achieve something quickly. What is the best approach? If you can hear us, Mr. Joseph, you can simply clarify the question. Okay. Mr. Zubi, you understand what you understand?
Okay.
Uh, Hello, can you
Yes.
hear me?
Yes. Yes, I can hear you. I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yes, I can hear you now.
Yeah. All right. So, so one thing first, once it comes to programming, whether you're doing web, mobile, or whatever, right? The first thing you have to deal with is the language, right? Um, so for iOS, here we are talking about Swift, right? First thing you have to know is to know the fundamentals of Swift language, right? Because there are no other faster way of, say you're delving into iOS development without actually knowing the fundamentals of the language used, right? So you have to know the foundation, know the basic structures in Swift programming, right? So it's just general to every programming language. So you learn the language constructs, right? Maybe like arrays, variables, and all of that. If you don't have those in hand, you are not going anywhere. You are just still there, right? So you have to know
Okay.
these ones. So once you know the language, the constructs and the rest, then you're good to go. I'm not saying that you should know like the full language itself, but there are some basic things that you need: how to declare a variable, how to um, use arrays, use the data structures provided by that programming language, and how to use all those, the syntax and all of that. Once you know that, you're good to go, right? Then
Okay.
once you have that, then you can start practicing. Maybe you can use maybe some online courses, right? Maybe like buy some courses from Udemy, or some YouTube tutorials, right? But I would recommend like Udemy courses because you'll be guided by an instructor. Also, you can join boot camps. Boot camps is more like active, like is something that is not like a pre-recorded video, right? It's something like a continuous learning that sometimes you come online, you guys learn together online. So it's just active, right? So you have to like stick to the roster, and complete all the steps and all of that, right? So I think that's just
Okay.
the language first. then learn the language first, the fundamentals of the language first, then and just start, practicing maybe by using boot camps or so also have you can also join communities, right? Um, people, for example, when I joined, right, when I started native mobile development, um, I had groups. I had Java programming groups. Like I have those groups on Facebook. Then I used to join. They used to throw some challenges. They used to, solve problems, and all of that. It will make you really active. So it will not make you easily to forget. You understand? You get notifications time by time, like something is happening, and just to keep you consistent and keep rolling. Yeah.
Okay. So, okay. I believe the question, though you answer the question to a point, okay, but I believe the major thing he was asking was the fast way to go into mobile development. Okay. Now you talked about going it using Swift. I believe even some of the things you talked about are things you need to know, not just Swift. Any language that you want to use in development, right? Mhm. So, but what he's saying, Mr. Joseph, if you can see my comments now on the comment section, the link I sent, kindly click on the link to join the call so that you ask your question live. Okay. So kindly click on the link. But that is what I think he's asking. Not the Swift programming language, but a Swift way to go into mobile
Oh,
development.
I see. I see. That
Yes.
Swift is. Oh, okay, okay. If that's the question, right?
Yeah.
I would say there's no easier way of going into it than following the normal way, right? If you are meant to pass through this door, you are meant to pass through this door. You don't need to go around it. If you find a way to go around it, you might miss some things, right? You might miss some fundamental things that you actually need to know, right? Because even in Swift now, they are you I think they have this development that you can also use Swift for Android. You can use it to develop Android apps, right? So if I'm advising somebody, I would say, okay, just go with normal Swift, native Swift first, right? Then when you advance, then you can now start targeting, like using their advanced options, like developing for Android also, right? So there is no easier way than just go than just going into it straight up, right? Just zero your mind that you are going into this, learn the language, start practicing, right? There is no other easier way to do it. There is no kind of shortcut, because it's something that you learn. It's something that you learn, and there are some steps, or there are things that you don't need to miss, right? So it just for example, if you are doing cross mobile development, I would say yes. If you are going for interviews, they will ask you, um, if they will ask you if you have native experience. It's not it's not a must of what you have, but it is recommended that you have it. Having native experience will give you an advantage over your colleagues or over your counterparts, right? It sets you apart. So having the native experience is just like knowing the internals of how the native Android works, right? Because you can't compare someone that has done native and transition into cross-platform, and someone that is just coming straight up like into cross-platform. You can't compare those two. So there are things that you don't actually need to skip, right? So yeah, okay. I think Joseph is here.
Okay, just hear us.
Hello, good evening, everyone.
Yeah,
Yeah, Joseph.
how are you doing?
Can you hear me? I'm fine.
Okay, so your question, the question you were asking,
Happy
hopefully,
to see my voice again.
it's a pleasure, man.
Uh, can't hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear
Yes,
you.
yes, we can hear you. Yeah. So the question you ask, hope we're able to, answer it, or can you just ask it again?
Yeah, actually, what I asked was what Zubi uh, answered the previous answer. Like, if you want to go into Swift, what is the best approach? Not Swift, like
Okay.
pathway to go into mobile development.
Okay. If you want to go into Swift, the mobile development using Swift programming language.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Which best approach? Because I'm trying to go into that, but the language is kind of off.
Oh yes,
Just off because
yeah.
I'm seeing something that is not in JavaScript. Uh, so many things.
Yeah, so yeah, I think I totally understand what you're saying. I totally get it, right? So for me, right, when I'm writing and when I'm writing apps, right? So there are some things I need to write natively on iOS, right? So when you enter the Swift code, it feels like a different kind of word, right? It's just like you're entering a different world of things work differently. Like where you are coming from, things are facing this way, but where you're entering, things are facing the other way. So it's will twist your head. So that's one thing. Like when you are learning multiple languages, right? Sometimes you might take the syntax of Swift and put inside your JavaScript.
Okay.
Right? So
Yeah.
it's not really easy, but yeah, Swift has a different kind of construct, right? It's just like when I was writing Java, I now started writing Kotlin, and in Java, every statement ends with a semicolon, right? But when I entered entered Kotlin, I don't fail to still put my semicolon. It works. It also works, right? But in Kotlin is unnecessary. It doesn't need semicolon to end your statements, right? So that's one thing you will meet when you are using Swift, right? And yes, it's not easy, right? Because you are writing a different language, but yeah, you have to face it, right? Just learn it. Over time you will get used to it. So that's what over time you will get used to it, right? But it's
Okay.
because it's something that you are doing newly, so it will seem kind of confusing, but just be consistent, you will still get through it.
Okay. So in a nutshell, irrespective of what you're doing, you just have to, work harder in it and make sure you you don't shy away from issues, because that is another thing you need to also know, because one thing about a beginner when they are learning programming, sometimes when they see error, they simply just shy away from it. Sometimes they don't even read the error to know what the error is talking about, and that is one of the problem. most beginners face. Okay, because I have a lot of people that I've taught from my experience so far that when they have errors, they don't bother to look at what that error is. You understand? Not knowing that that thing now will guide you on how to become a better developer. Another thing again, if you are transitioning from one programming language to another, or you are kind of writing two or three languages together, you are using two or three languages, maybe even if you are using them for different things, as long as you're using them, sometimes you can mistake maybe some syntax from this particular language into this language, and that kind of thing will be a very big problem. You understand? So some of all these things are, like, for an experienced developer, some of all these things are usual. We see them every day. We encounter them. They are normal problems that we encounter every day. You understand? So that is just it. So if you are finding it difficult, what you just need to do is just focus more, and make sure you don't lose that passion you have in it. Okay. Also, know that there must be some challenges. That is a must. Even experienced senior developers will still encounter those challenges. You understand? So you just need to have that at the back of your mind, so that when you see them, you will not shy away from them. You will not just leave them. You find a way to tackle them, and as you tackle them, you become a better developer. So Zubi, we just have 5 minutes to go. Okay, I don't know if you have any other thing to tell us for that 5 minutes. For those of us that have joined so far, thank you very much for being part of this program. Okay, anything to tell us in less
Okay.
than 5 minutes? Yeah.
All right. Just briefly talk. So, like, I think I captured that in the question Joseph asked, but I will just bring it throw more light on it, just to highlight it, right? I would just say just part to becoming a mobile app developer, right? Um, so in general, for your education, right, you don't need a degree, but you just need a foundation in computer science, right? Generally, right? It's just the thing. Then you know how to write basic code, not sophisticated or advanced code, but just basic code, like know how to write instruction to pass to the computer, right? Then we also have online resources. You can use Udemy, Coursera, YouTube, right? So you can use these platforms, to learn from people, or from design courses, right? This will help you, to fasten your journey, right? I'll say that go if you have, like, if you see boot camps, right? Boot camps for mobile development, go into there, because I find it like more interesting, right? If you are using Udemy, if you are not consistent, you might not, like, you might just maybe get tired, and but when you are doing boot camps, right, it makes you to be like actively to participate actively in it, right? So if you have good if you seek boot camps, I would recommend that, right? Then build projects, right? As you are using these platforms, build projects. It's not really a big project. Start with small projects,
Just
you know
that
maybe.
that kind of problem.
Yes, maybe a to-do list app or something. It's just something to just showcase how you can put all the things you have been learning together, right? So just do simple, like simple apps, just to practice, right?
Okay.
As a mobile developer, building tailored UIs, right? Because when you start building project for companies, and that they will give you UIs that you have to replicate, like write the code to replicate those UI on the mobile apps, right? It's very good that you advance your, crafting when it comes to UI, right? So you can use sites like Dribble. So there is a site called Dribble that contains mobile app portfolios or designs
Okay.
yeah, that you can
Okay. Zubi,
practice.
okay, we have to go. Time is against us. Okay. So, Joseph, have one last question. We'll answer that question in the comment section. Okay. The question
All right.
is, can you recommend any bootcamp platform that he can join? Okay. So we're going to put that in the comment section so that you see this because we actually have to go right now. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Zubi, for joining us today, and I thank everyone for joining this live show. And we're going to see you tomorrow again by 7 p.m. to talk about data, cybersecurity, and AI automation. Okay. So until then, keep your devices closed, set your alarm so that you join us same time tomorrow. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, everyone.